Hello everybody, my name is Davis and welcome back to the video, and today we are here for another severe weather breakdown. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Starting off with the SPC outlook for today, where we have an enhanced risk of severe weather, okay? This is a very big day in the weather. This is going to include Norman, Fort Sill, and Wichita Falls here, so definitely look out if you're in this region today. Now moving on to the tornado threat here, we have a 2% risk of a tornado for portions of west central Texas, north central Texas, northeast Texas, and southern Oklahoma. Now, the cities that are going to be included in that are Fort Stockton, Midland, Lubbock, Abilene, Dallas, Wichita Falls, and Fort Sill. So look out in that region for a potential isolated tornado. Damaging wind threat, we have a 30% hatched risk of damaging winds of 60 miles an hour higher today. So if you're in the brown region, that's a 5% chance to see wind gusts of 60 miles an hour higher. If you're in the yellow region, that's a 15% chance to see wind gusts of 60 miles an hour higher. And if you're in the red region, that's a 30% chance to see wind gusts of 60 miles an hour higher. But if you're inside of the black line, then that risk gets upgraded to 75 miles per hour. So some areas that have a chance to see wind gusts up to 75 miles per hour tonight are going to include Fort Sill and Wichita Falls. So definitely be looking out to this, okay? We have an enhanced risk of severe weather mainly for this damaging wind threat. I did go live for this event earlier and we saw some wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour. So if you want to look back on that, go ahead and check out the live streams on my channel. Hail threat, we have a 30% hatched risk of hail today as well. So if you're in the brown, that's a 5% risk to see hail of 1 inch or larger. If you're in the yellow, that's a 15% risk to see hail of 1 inch or larger. And if you're in the red, then that's a 30% chance to see hail of 1 inch or larger. But if you are in the line circle, then that risk gets upgraded to 2 inches or larger. So, this is going to include Wichita Falls, Fort Sill, Norman, Oklahoma City, Lubbock, and Midland, and as well as Fort Stockton here, that could see some hail up to 2 inches or larger tonight. In fact, we saw some baseball-sized hail earlier during my stream here in the Midland, Odessa region. Now, if you want to go back on that, once again, just look at the past live streams on my channel. It's the most recent one, and probably will be for a while as the weather is about to calm down. Now, moving on to tomorrow here, we do not have any marginal risks of severe weather as of right now. And moving on to Friday, we do not have any marginal risks of severe weather as of right now. So let's go ahead and move on to the National Hurricane Center here. We have Tropical Storm Philippe here. It's a 40-mile-per-hour storm, but we're going to break that down more later. And then we have a disturbance here that has a 20% chance to form the next 7 days that we really need to be watching because it is pointing in the direction where it could make a potential America landfall. Now, moving on to the Eastern Pacific here, we have Tropical Storm Lydia, which is not expected to make impact on anybody. And by Monday next week, it will most likely just be a low-end tropical storm, and a few days after that, it will dissipate. We have a disturbance that has a 10% chance to form the next 48 hours and a 10% chance to form the next 7 days. We shouldn't have to worry too much about that. And then we have this disturbance that has an 80% chance to form the next 7 days and a 20% chance to form the next 48 hours that we need to be watching for to make a potential impact on portions of West Mexico here. Now, moving on to the Central Pacific, we have that same disturbance, but other than that, nothing new. So let's go ahead and move on to the track for Philippe here. Currently, Philippe is a 45-mile-per-hour storm here, leaving the Lesser Antilles in Puerto Rico, as it caused a lot of damage there, a lot of destruction, some storm surge, flooding rains, fast winds, and it overall was not a good situation down here for the past few days, but luckily it is starting to get out of that region. We might see some more heavy rainfall, potentially some thunderstorms in Puerto Rico and the British Virgin Islands, but other than that, we are good to go with that. Now, Tropical Storm Philippe here will continue to head northwards and likely make a direct impact on Bermuda here at around a 50-mile-per-hour storm, okay? Now, we really need to be watching in this area because it is in the cone of uncertainty, so it could see the worst part of this tropical storm. Luckily, Bermuda is built very well to handle tropical storms, but they've gotten so many this summer that it might be kind of hard for them to start tanking this many. Now, moving on to the north even more here, this thing will continue to head north and eventually have a very similar effect that Hurricane Lee had last month and make landfall in portions of either Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, or Maine here at around a 45-mile-per-hour storm. Or sorry, no, this is a 60-mile-per-hour storm storm. So this got upgraded even more since the last video. We could see a 60-mile-per-hour storm or higher tropical storm landfall here in portions of Atlantic Canada and the northeast United States here. Now, like I said, this is an extremely similar situation to Hurricane Lee, where it went kind of near the Lesser Antilles, then went up north, and then made an impact on Bermuda, and then continued to go north, and then made an impact on New Brunswick and Maine, as well as Nova Scotia. I think that could be a very similar thing to what plays out today, and it's even about the same strength at this point that Tropical Storm Lee was. Maybe this one will be a little bit weaker than Lee, but it's still not going to be one storm that you're going to want to mess around with, and we don't know too much about it yet since we are pretty far out. This might head over to the Quebec region, so we need to be watching for that. It might be a 45-mile-per-hour storm at this point, and it will most likely continue to head northwestward here and more into Quebec. So moving on to the Climate Prediction Center here, we have a pretty interesting 6 to 10 day temperature outlook where we have a heat dome sitting here in the upper western Midwest and the interior Northwest. In that pink shaded color there, that's going to be a 70 to 80% chance to see above average temperatures from October 10th to October 14th. We're going to see much of that summer heat return here for portions of the Deep South, the Four Corner States, the Great Plains, the Midwest, and the Northwest. Now over here we have a cool dome that's going to be sitting over here in portions of the Northeast and the Ohio Valley. Now the worst of this is going to be a 40 to 50% chance to see below average temperatures from the 10th to the 14th as of right now in that darkest color of blue, so look out for that. We're going to really start to see the fall temperatures shine in this region here in portions of Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, maybe even portions of the northern Delmarva, northeast Ohio, West Virginia, just kind of areas like that. Now moving on to the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, we have an area that has a 50 to 60% chance to see above average precipitation from the 10th to the 14th in the Northwest, and then we also have one that has a 50 to 60% chance to see above average precipitation here in the Southeast. So both corners of the United States here are likely to see above average precipitation. Now we also have an area that's going to see a lot of below average precipitation here, and that's going to include portions of West Texas and the Four Corner States. Now, this is going to be a 50 to 60% chance to see below average precipitation here in the darkest color of brown, and we have seen very minimal rainfall here in the Four Corner States other than the Burning Man events, so we really need the rain here. We've had a very, very below average summer for precipitation, even considering that this is the desert Southwest. So that's not great, I'll be honest. The drought will continue, and we might see some more areas get to an exceptional drought, which is the highest level of drought there is. Now, moving on to the 8 to 14 day outlooks here, we have a large area that's likely to see above average precipitation here from our heat dome that's still going to be sitting in the upper Midwest from the 12th to the 18th. And that red shaded color there, that's going to be a 60 to 70% chance to see above average temperatures. Once again, that's in portions of the upper western Midwest and the interior Northwest, so look out for that. And then we also have an area that's likely to see above average temperatures in the Northeast here. In that orange color, that's going to be a 50 to 60% chance to see above average temperatures. And we have no areas that are likely to see below average temperatures, and really the entirety of the western U.S. here has a 50 to 60% chance to see above average temperatures, so we might see some of that southern heat return here, okay? So moving on to the 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook, we have a 40 to 50% chance to see above average precipitation there in the darkest shade of green here in the southeast. That's going to include portions of Alabama, Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida here, so look out for that. Same thing for the Northwest and portions of northwestern California, western Oregon, and western Washington. You're also going to have a 40 to 50% chance to see above average precipitation. And then the desert Southwest and the deep South are going to continue to see below average precipitation, most likely. In the darkest shade of brown there, that's going to be a 40 to 50% chance to see below average precipitation. So unfortunately, this extreme drought will continue in this region. Now, finally, watches, warnings, and advisories. We have a severe thunderstorm watch in effect here for portions of Texas and Oklahoma. We have flood watches in effect for portions of Arkansas, Texas, and Oklahoma. And we have many severe thunderstorm warnings in effect here for portions of Texas and Oklahoma. But if you want to see the worst of this, go ahead and check out my live stream. I was live during the worst part of this storm. But it is still pretty bad, okay? We've still got a severe thunderstorm watch in effect, and we could still see an isolated tornado tonight. that. Now, right here, you're going to have freeze warnings in portions of Colorado and New Mexico here. So if you're under a freeze warning, try to be careful when driving on icy roads. Now, we have heat advisories in effect here for portions of West Central California and the San Francisco area, as that summer heat, like I said, is returning in this region. We could see temperatures up to 100 degrees in this region on the heat index values, so look out for that. Maybe even higher than 100 degrees, maybe up to 110 in one region. So definitely look out for that. We do have some freeze watches in effect here for a decent portion of North Dakota, okay? Pretty much all of western North Dakota, and then going into northeastern North Dakota, you're going to be under a freeze watch. So again, be careful driving on icy roads. We have flood advisories in effect here for portions of south central Missouri, as we do have some of that storm continuing into the Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, even up to like Illinois region. We do have some coastal flood advisories in effect here in portions of the deep south, so look out for that. But other than that, it's pretty calm right now. So if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe. Again, southwest Oklahoma, northeast Texas, I know you already went through some pretty bad storms earlier, but they're not stopping anytime soon. For the rest of the night into the early morning hours tomorrow, you're going to continue to deal with severe thunderstorm warnings, severe thunderstorm watches, maybe a couple tornado warnings. We don't know, so look out for that, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.